A very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. You have an absolute treat today. I have with me three of the funniest people of our generation. Just look at them. Don't they look a little funny to you? They absolutely need no introduction. They're household names, so I will introduce them. I have Sidin Vadukut here on my right, who is the author of the immensely successful Dog Trilogy, editor of Live Mint, who says that his father bought him his MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. But the fact that I really like, and this is the one you need to remember, the only fact you need to remember about Sidin is that he's an expert on champagne. And he appeared on Mastermind talking about champagne.
Really?
Did you win? Did you win?
No comment.
No comment. Okay, we'll stop right there. Yeah. On my right, you have Meera, Syal, a household name. There you are. That says it all. A household name in the UK. Comedian, playwright, singer, journalist, producer, actress. There isn't a thing that she doesn't do. Is there a thing you don't do?
I don't do maths.
Wash the dishes.
I don't do maths. I'm
You
a
don't do
very
maths.
bad Indian. I'm terrible at maths.
Okay. And she's known for Goodness Gracious Me, the Kumars at number 42. I'm sure you've all seen it. If we're lucky, we might get a clip tonight, although we haven't seen it, so we don't know what we're in for. But she's much more than that. I mean, there's a hell of a lot more. And I personally saw her in Shirley Valentine, where she did this intense and enormous monologue. How do you memorize all that? I mean,
Oh, well, women are very good at multitasking, so I learnt it while I was doing the cooking. So.
there you are. and she's also a commander of the Order of the British Empire. So be very careful what you say. To my left, you have Suhel, Seth. Well, shall I stop there? Managing partner of India's only branding consultancy called, now, can I get this correct? Counselage?
You're from Sri Lanka. Anything
We don't
will do.
pronounce. We don't pronounce.
We love our neighbors. Anything.
Thank you. See me afterwards. Columnist. He has his finger on the pulse of India, an all-round wise man, known for his plain and brutal speaking. When I emailed him and said, can he send me samples of his writing, he said, I have nothing that would interest you. So brutal. I've never got over it. Anyway, one other thing he said is, I have never told a lie. So figure that one out.
I don't
Was that the
believe
biggest
you.
lie you told?
No comment. We love our neighbors.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a very general question. Are you guys funny all the time? Do you get up, leap out of bed, singing ha ha he he, or are you all miserable gits in real life? So then,
Oh, I'm funny if there are enough people around me. Because the only way I can respond to social pressure is by being funny. But by myself, I'm mostly very, very sad. I'm not joking, I'm usually miserable. And I think the public humor is a response to the personal misery in a way, almost. And I'm not joking. I am not the most exciting person when I'm alone.
Meera, what about you?
I'm very funny when I get paid. In fact, the more I get paid, the funnier I am, weirdly.
You better get your money out now. And Suhel, what about you?
I'm funny when Rahul Gandhi's in India. I'm funny when Parliament is in session. And I'm funny when there are moderators from across.
He's killing me. He's killing me here.
No. We have one old rule. First smash the moderator so that he's kind to you through the session. And then go to... No, but on a serious note, I'm a very happy person. I'm genuinely very happy. I've had great parents. I lost my dad last year. My mother's with me. I'm a very, very happy person. I have nothing to be sad about. I'm not intolerant, unliberal, unsecular.
Oh my God.
I love everyone from beef to pancakes to lingerie to the RSS to, not ISIS, but yeah, basically that.
Now, is there a pressure on you when you're in public to be funny? Do people come up to you and say, well, you are miserable? I mean, is there a pressure on you? Do you feel that? I mean, does that make you nervous? God, I've got to go out there and be funny
No,
again.
it sometimes irritates me because you say something serious and everyone will laugh. And you're like, why are you laughing? I'm being very serious, you know? And then you're like, no, don't laugh. And then they won't laugh for the remainder of the conversation. So it's just, No, please laugh. I mean, general. You know?
And Meera, being an actress, does it mean that, I mean, your funny lines are so fabulously funny, but obviously they were written and perhaps rehearsed, I don't know. Is there a sort of an element of spontaneity there?
I think actually most of the funny lines are spontaneous.
Really, really.
The problem with overworking a comedy script actually kills it. And you always have to take the audience into consideration. Their energy changes how you play the comedy. So certainly when we were doing the Kumars at number 42, which I think you got over here, right? I was the old woman. You have a vision of how I'm going to look in a few years' time. And even though we had vaguely scripted questions, genuinely when our celebrity guests walked into the Punjabi family house, most of the funniest stuff we improvised because we totally went with the flow of what the guest was saying.
And do you have a kind of a sixth sense about what the audience is feeling? And I mean, are you alive? Obviously, you must be alive to that kind of the atmosphere in the audience, the frisson.
Oh, you have to be. Comedy is brutal. You know, when you do drama, if nobody laughs, nobody responds, you can kid yourself they were really listening. With comedy, it's immediate. If they don't laugh, they're not with you. And that's it. Yeah. And you move on.
Now, we're here to talk about South Asians and what makes South Asians laugh. I mean, do South Asians have a sense of humor? What is that sort of humor about? Is humor location specific? I mean, what makes us Asians, South Asians laugh? I mean, does it make other people laugh? Most of you guys are sort of have lived or worked in London or America or whatever. Any ideas on that?
I don't think humor is geography specific. At times it's community specific. So, you know, you'll have a lot of Santa Banta jokes before obviously they get banned by the Supreme Court. You'll have Polish jokes. You'll have jokes that we, you know, crack on situations. I don't think it's, you know, are people in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan all very funny? I mean, I think they're as funny as people in England and Fiji, or for that matter, well, not Syria right now, but you get the drift. So I don't think it's, you know, it's a very interesting topic because they needed a Sri Lankan, a London formidable actress, an in-exile editor, and a funny man, so-called, to come in, and therefore you need a topic in Jaipur to say South Asians. I think the question is, what makes people laugh? In India, we normally laugh at other people's pain, broadly speaking. So if you see that other guy's getting hit, you're like, we laugh the most when we see a flat tire in a Mercedes Benz when we are in a Nano. We are happy people. Yeah. It's this 9 o'clock television which pisses us off. Gets us all angry. We're all happy. Look at these people, they're all happy. Most of them are without their spouses, and that's not the only reason for their happiness. But they're all generally happy people.
But now, Meera, your comedy has traveled from Europe to America to Asia. Have you noticed any differences? Do you have to edit certain bits out? Do you find that some skits are funny in one country and not in another? In other words, is it location specific to a certain extent?
I don't think it is, actually. I think what the pleasure that we found with both Goodness Gracious Me and the Kumars is that it did travel. And I think good comedy is universal. A lot of our stuff is about family, and we all have a family, and we know how embarrassing they are. So everybody got the Kumars. In fact, the idea for the Kumars came from my husband when he devised the show. The first time he took a girl back to meet his mom, he thought, I wonder one day when I'm famous how my parents will react if I bring home, say, you know, Tom Cruise. And he thought they would react exactly the same way. They would say, how much do you earn? Why aren't you married? And that's where actually the root of the Kumars was, from a very human family situation. And we really didn't make any concessions. You know, if there was phrases in Punjabi, we didn't change it because I think, you know, people get it. you don't have to explain every single thing. If the spirit of the comedy is there and it's universally based, they will come and meet you. And for us, it was very important to have a very unique, our British Asian identity through the work we were doing. We didn't want to dilute it. We wanted them to come to us, and they did.
And did you find at that point that you almost invented these personas? I mean, you didn't invent them, obviously, they were there, but by kind of shining a light on them, you gave them a sort of validity and life.
I honestly think before we did Goodness Gracious Me, people really didn't think Indians were funny. They didn't think we had a sense of humor. To them, we were the people that served them in the restaurants or sold them their newspapers or occasionally treated them in hospital. They didn't think of us as having irony, a sense of humor, about ourselves and about the host community. And I firmly believe that people that can laugh at themselves are supremely confident about who they are. That is the greatest sign of confidence, that you can take a joke and you can give a joke. So it's very important for us. It established us as people that weren't just the butt of the jokes anymore. We could tell the jokes. That was the difference.
Absolutely. Now, Sidin, in your case, you wrote this very unusual trilogy, and you were the first person to do it, Office Humor.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a bit about that?
I'll also, like any good Indian MBA, let me also answer the other question. Yes? So I was thinking about this, and it just struck me while I was bathing this morning, that, what is South Asian humor? Is there a South Asian, so on. I realized that most Indians, I don't know about other countries, most
Across
Indians...
the water.
Yeah, small little, anyway.
He still meant country. No, don't take it personally. He meant country.
I'll try not to.
Small little was in the context of country.
So I was thinking, I think most Indians have three senses of humor. There's a sense of humor that is deeply connected to where they're from, their state, where they're from. There's a second sense of humor that is the Indian national sense of humor, and these can often be very different. And I'll try to explain that with a joke. And the final one is our international sense of humor, which allows us to appreciate Frasier and Friends and Donald Trump and so on. So, and this is good. Now, this may give you the impression that we can laugh at everything. Not really. Often these things can, what is very funny for an Indian audience, when you try to translate it into a local language, suddenly it's not very funny. And it works both ways. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of American and British sitcoms aren't translated into Indian languages when they're broadcast here. On the other hand, as soon as you go into Vietnam or, even Hong Kong or Singapore, they tend to get translated into, even if they have large English speaking. So to give you an example, if you can give me a minute. Are there Tamil speakers in the audience? Yeah, okay. So very quickly, true story, many years ago I was living with a roommate in Chennai, and he was this university level bodybuilder, powerlifter, big guy, chunky guy. So one weekend we got on our scooter, we went to a nearby video rental library back when, and he dropped me outside, I went in, he parked his scooter, so as soon as I went in, see, we were bachelors, and this was not a video rental library of repute. So when you went in, the guy would look at you and say, how much? So if you said this, that meant you wanted to see a single X movie. And if you said like that, it meant you wanted to see a double X movie. And if you said like that, it basically meant you didn't have high-speed internet at home, right? So no, that's not, so I go in, and a few minutes later, oddly enough, my friend's name is Dawood, but anyway. Dawood walks in. Okay, now the rest of this is in Tamil. But I'll show you why. So he walks in, and then the shopkeeper comes to me. I'll say in Tamil, and then I'll translate. He says, sir, konjam. Sir, adu ungaloda friend-a, sir? I said, Sir, sir, adu pull door, sir. Ungaloda friend adu push panni odichitanga, sir. The translation in English is, sir, is that your friend? I said, yes. True story. He said, sir, that is a pull door, sir. He has pushed it and broken the door, sir. So my powerlifter friend ripped the door open, a pull door, ripped the door, push open and went in. This joke only works in Tamil. It does not, other people are like, okay, fine, broke the doors, over. So again, just to explain, it's just very, so comedy nights with Kapil, I try showing it to my Malayali family and they're like, we had much better jokes 30 years ago, But yeah, so there is it's a little...
Essentially what you're saying is that humor is a sort of language, and there are various languages.
Yeah, there are various flavors
and,
of
and,
it.
and if you have humor that, if you have certain words in that language which do translate easily, you're lucky or you're skillful or whatever, but there may be other dialects that don't translate. Yeah.
It's not just language. It's also, it's kind of a mentality of what makes you laugh, which I think kind of sometimes changes.
The mentality of the audience,
Yeah.
you're saying.
So therefore,
what is your mentality?
Look, hungry, I don't know. Which makes it, for me, a little difficult to write humor in English, because you have to write jokes that work everywhere in India. So if I was writing the exact same book in Malayalam, for example, it would be a very different book. Or Hindi, it would be a different book. That's my personal challenge.
Now, the other question is this. Is humor time barred? In other words, does the joke of 30 years ago not work today?
I'm sure, even Jayalalitha wouldn't appreciate that joke about, push and pull. Obviously Tamil Nadu has a really refined sense of humor appreciation. If you said this joke in Punjab, they'd bloody chittar maro you.
Exactly.
Say, "Aggie keh deta hai."
Exactly.
Anyway, I don't think it's time bound. It's like, for instance, Rahul Gandhi will be eternal. There'll be jokes of him for time to come. Donald Trump, if he wins the presidential nomination, Britain will think he's the finest person to have ever won the nomination. India doesn't give a shit, as long as he arrives here. Narendra Modi, no one's laughing at because no one wants to go to prison. Sonia Gandhi, no one has ever laughed at because she hasn't laughed in a long, long time. Who else is there?
But Suhel, you could possibly laugh at Modi later, right? A few years.
Well, you could possibly laugh at Modi later because you don't live here. And there's a Modi living in your city as well. Lalit, as the case may be. No, on a serious note, I don't think it's time barred for people who lose relevance. I think also there are a lot of jokes, there's a lot of humor. For instance, Wodehouse remains relevant to this day. Art Bookwald remains relevant to this day. We've had some of the finest people in writing satire, or people who use sarcasm as their key weapon, who remain relevant to this day. It depends on how refined that sense of humor is. It also depends, and there Sidin mentioned very correctly, it also depends on how little barriers or borders you build within that humor architecture. Because the day you build those borders and geographies within that architecture, you are yourself its biggest limitation.
Yes.
But now, Meera, do you look back on your early stuff, your early television stuff, some of those skits, do you say, oh gosh, that's simply not funny today? Or does that thought ever occur to you or not? I find them incredibly funny, but do you, looking back on humor, on stuff that you did 10, 15,
I can
20
see
years.
that they could have been better written, maybe, or
no, that's
a little
different.
shorter.
That's different.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Not in terms of the humour of it, no. I think that the thing is, in Britain, there hasn't been anything else since.
Yeah,
so we
sad to
still
say.
have so much material to play with.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing.
Write some more.
We are. We're doing another special for 2017.
Oh, excellent. You heard it here. You heard it here.
But I wish that we could have handed the baton on. What I do see happening, which is really heartening, is that though there hasn't been more sketch comedy, I see a whole generation of really good stand-ups coming up. Really good young stand-ups who are very satiric, very comfortable with talking about all kinds of cultural references.
And actually, that was one of the questions I was going to ask. Have any of you been stand-ups? You are a stand-up in your life.
No, I'm not.
No?
He gets paid for being stand-up. I get paid for sitting down and just having an intelligent conversation. Not that he doesn't. But I just want to quickly come back to 2 points before I lose track of them. Look at recent Indian history. The finest cartoonists were at one time Shankar and at the other time R.K. Lakshman. And we haven't produced that level of brilliance to this day, for whatever reason. Go back into public speaking and you still quote Churchill. You may or may not agree with him, and especially we in India despise what he said of India and what he felt about India. But the reality is you still quote Churchill. We don't have sparkling wit because we have instant television. Everything is instant. People who speak have lost the efficacy of speaking in a witty manner. Satire is hardly understood. There is so much of anger and rage that there's more misinterpretation rather than a willingness to understand, appreciate, and enjoy. So we've all boxed ourselves into, "Oi, are you making fun of me?" I mean, the Supreme Court, for God's sake, has to listen to a public interest litigation on Santa Banta jokes. I mean, that in itself is the biggest joke on our judicial system. This is the tragedy. And by the way, we in India are great people. We are a great people at the ability to laugh at ourselves. We've had a superb history of laughing at ourselves. We've also had a tremendous history of having great leaders giving us the opportunity to laugh at them. That tradition continues, but we've lost the former tradition of laughing at ourselves. I mean, can you imagine, only in India will an advertisement come out, and I got summoned by Parliament. I mean, for God's sake, they put out an ad in Hindustan Times, "Please don't feed the monkeys outside Parliament." All I said was, "What about the ones inside?" Now, what did I have to defend myself by saying? I said what I meant was the monkeys who were inside the Parliament complex but not in Parliament. And they bought it. Now, if that isn't worth a laugh, what is?
But Suhel, I think I completely agree with you. I mean, there's this whole outrage culture and so on. But I think if you step away from the mainstream, largely English, maybe Hindi language, I can speak for Kerala, for example. There's a lot of really good satire, humor, but nothing translated. Very context specific,
Right.
happening in a local. I'm sure it happens in Rajasthan.
Look at Bengal.
Yeah.
I mean, despite Mamta, there's so much to laugh about. And there are people who are writing brilliantly in Bengali. But sadly, you're right. I mean, the mainstream, and you asked about stand-up comics, I think, with due respect to some of the ones I know, they have rehashed the same crap every time. Papa CJ always ends with the Kama Sutra, saying, we must tell Britain that we invented the Kama Sutra. We can screw you in more positions than you can imagine. Now, yeah, even the Kama Sutra has been done over so many times, but the stand-up comics will still use the same jokes to end.
Have either of you ever been stand-up comics? Have you had to do stand-up?
No, I tried it once. I was terrible.
Same with me.
Yeah,
Nerve-wracking.
No.
Terrible. Never going to do that again. I love playing characters because you can hide behind a character and you can say stuff. For example, I'm me and the Kumars. I could say outrageous stuff as a cheeky old lady that I would never get away as myself. And it's a sort of protection between you and the audience. But I think there's a reason there's very few female stand-ups. It's a brutal, brutal world. There are many, many funny women out there, but you've got to be able to go out on the circuit and hold your own against a bunch of drunk people shouting stuff. It's a very tough world.
But what happens if you build up this persona? Can't you then sort of hide behind the person? So the persona can be rude, but the person can be a fairly
Yeah, and a
gentle.
lot of stand-ups say they are actually in a persona anyway. Even though it may seem like them, it's for them, their stand-up persona. But I just feel more comfortable with character-based comedy rather than standing up as myself.
But Ashok, may I just make one point, since we are at a festival which celebrates free thought and free speech. The tragedy is that in the good old days, whether you were a religious leader, a political leader, you took to humor much more kindly than you take to it now. Now we've almost boxed humor into something that is enemy-like. So, people are scared of being humorous. People are scared of being witty because they don't know who will take objection to what. And people who murder sit in our legislatures, in our parliament. People who make jokes go to prison. I mean, that's the irony of today's India. That is something that we should be crying about rather than laughing about. But the tragedy is no one is willing to take cudgels on behalf of an entire population of people whose only joy in life is to help other people laugh. So, we've almost whittled down the humor or the laughter quotient from our lives. And a country that doesn't have people who can either laugh at themselves or help other people laugh is a country that needs serious help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What actually makes something funny? What, in your experience, because you're all writers, including you, Suhel. I mean, what?
Yeah, I am a writer.
Yeah,
I mean,
what is it? What is it that actually, you know, have you worked out? Is there a secret to it? What is it that makes people laugh? Are you conscious of it when you write? When
Yeah.
you wrote your Office trilogy, were you conscious that you were writing funny stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, I wanted to write a funny book, but like Meera said, that's a nightmarish thing. Because if you're publicizing a book as a comedy, and you don't make people laugh, there's nothing else.
Yeah, you're not forgiven.
You're not like a mainstream movie where there are some jokes, okay, you didn't laugh at the jokes, but you enjoyed the story. But if you're a comedian, if the comedy doesn't work, finished. So what drove me to write the book was the sheer amount of just absurdity in the modern workplace. Just unbelievable amounts of nonsense happens in offices, which everyone is so immune to because, they just happens, Like I'm yet to meet a single person who can operate a laser projector. I've never seen a single LCD projector in the country of India that works in 5 minutes. Somebody tries, then another guy comes, then there's a group discussion, then a guy from IT comes, but the IT guy is a contractor, so he will call the actual IT guy, Never seen it. I knew a guy at the Steel Authority of India who responded to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I kid you not. He had lots of papers on his table. He said, no, Prime Minister is saying, clean it up. He took a Xerox of everything and destroyed the originals. True story. Now, if you saw this at work, you'd be just like, it's just the office being the office. So I said, look, I'm going to just magnify these, because a lot of comedy is magnifying these faults in daily life. So that's what really drove me.
So you need to have a sharp eye and a sharp ear
I'm
to
always
pick up
observing.
these.
Unlike the UK, where I find the comedy is a lot more around embarrassment, awkwardness, and class relations, a little bit. I mean, you're the
UK?
expert. Yeah.
Yeah, to some extent, and also, but recognition and familiarity too. I think putting into a joke or words stuff that just now, when you got a round of applause, people are going, "I know that, I get that, that's in my life."
Very powerful, yeah.
So, and that's certainly how a lot of the humour that we did work, because people would recognise their families.
And Meera, when did you actually start writing? I mean, did you always want to put all this stuff into film? I mean, I'm talking about writing for films as opposed to your books, which came perhaps subsequently.
Yeah. Writing comedy specifically.
Writing comedy specifically, yeah.
Well, it was kind of secret, to be honest, because when I was growing up as this kind of weird kid, Indian kid in the middle of a white working class village.
The only one.
The only one. I was, I wasn't Indian enough for the Indians because, I had weird hair and I didn't want to do medicine. And I was too Indian for the English people because I looked like this. I didn't fit in anywhere. And I would find things absurdly funny all the time and would be shocked no one else was laughing. So I thought I was a bit mad. So I was having these sort of secret giggles to myself, thinking, does no one else find this funny? And then I found a whole bunch of my generation who thought exactly the same as me.
Was it a huge relief when
It was like coming home. I found my tribe, and we had this immediate shorthand, because I'd say, do your parents have suitcases on top of the wardrobe? So do mine.
We all do, we all do.
That's because they think Enoch Powell's going to chuck us out in a minute. That's why they're there. Is your sofa covered with plastic? So's mine. Do you open Tupperware thinking it's dal and it's something else? So, there were all these points of contact. So suddenly we found that we had a very unique sense of humour from the two cultures, and there was a lot of us. Yeah. And so when we put it out there, the joy was that not only did the British Asians go, that's my life, the British people were going, oh my God, I didn't know you felt like that. I mean, our most famous sketch is called Going for an English. I don't know if you've
Which
seen
we
it.
tried to get today, but sadly it's not here. We've got another one later on.
And it's a very simple sketch, and it's a bunch of Indian drunk people in an English restaurant in Mumbai. And it's a complete reversal of how English people behave in curry houses in Britain. And the Indians ask for the blandest thing on the menu. And everyone got it, and it held up a mirror to British society, and the British went, that's how we behave, and that's what you're thinking of us. So I think it's a mixture of satire, it's familiarity, it's recognition, but it sometimes shines a light on somebody's experience that they didn't know before. And humor's so powerful. Humor can break down barriers in a way that 1,000 political speeches can't.
And is there guilt as well? When you laugh at something, you think, oh my God, I shouldn't have laughed at that? Is there sort of a feeling of that?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but guilt is part of our DNA. I have to tell you my favourite joke, which is how many Indian mothers does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is, don't worry about me, I'll sit in the dark. Because that's what Indian mothers do, they guilt trip you. So that's the kind of joke we enjoy.
Suhel, what about you? I mean, are you afraid to make political jokes?
No.
Have you ever been afraid to make political jokes?
No. Rahul Gandhi is still a politician. Modi is still a politician. But jokes apart, there's also delight in consistency in India. You ask an Indian, are you going to Bombay tomorrow? I've just come back from Coimbatore. They will never answer the question, are you going to Bombay tomorrow? Second, Modi goes to Paris, environment, carbon emissions. Every goddamn function in India, lighting of the lamp. That contributes more to emission than anything else in the world. I mean, there are certain things which are just brilliant about our country. You ask anyone who attends an Indian wedding, 7 days, freeloading, they'll come back. How was the wedding? यार वो जेनिफर लोपेज ने बैठो क्या गाना गाया यार अच्छा खाना कैसा ठीक था पर bloody Hindujas only give vegetarian food. So what's the name of the bride and the groom? हैं? As जिसकी शादी थी उनका नाम क्या है? ओ यार वो तो कार्ड पे था. So this is what happens. You go there, 7 days of jamboree. Jennifer Lopez, who none of the uncles have ever heard of, but she looks good. ये तो राखी सावंत की तरह है पर थोड़ी better looking है. They'll come back. They don't know the bride or the groom, but they've had 7 days of great fun. So there are beautiful insights that you must glean from an India that we all live in.
Yeah.
And the delightful bit is, and I'm not at all attempting to flatter this audience because that I will do during the debate because we'll need your vote then. But the delightful thing is, it's these oases of excellence in terms of both appeal, appreciation, and empathy that you wish would get magnified to all of India so that we could regroup, recover, and renew our love affair with humor, which is so necessary in these lives of rage and drudgery.
Yeah. And also, you talk about these oases. It's just unbelievable when they collide a little bit, Like, for example, my wife is a Punjabi from Delhi and I'm a Malayali from Kerala. Well, Malayali is up. Anyway.
So are you like Shashi Tharoor? No, I didn't mean in the context of your wife. I meant... See, this is it. It's such a harmless question. Now there'll be a public interest litigation.
No, I am going to file the public interest litigation. So we had our, we got married twice within 3 days and so on. So it's amazing.
Twice within 3 days?
Yeah, we had to do a church wedding in Bombay and go around the fire in Delhi. So with complete respect, I said that.
And इसमें कुछ गोलमाल था.
So we had a Sangeet in December in Delhi and it was 3 degrees outside. And so it's really funny. So you'd see her family. So there's my family in one corner, there's music blaring. Her family is in the other corner, and my relatives are telling each other, what is this? Every song, same dance. Her family, all wonderful, they all love each other. Her family is like, yaar, 3 degrees hai, dhoti pehan ke aaye ho. Because all the men in my family are dying in the cold. I'm just...
No, but one minute. I'm sorry. Umen Chandi, is he still Chief Minister?
Yes, very much.
In Davos 5 years ago, dhoti, they call it dhoti or lungi?
Mundu, but that's fine.
Whatever, mundu, whatever. Hawaii chappals in Davos. Congress plenary session, I told him, I said, you should wear something which will help you get a grip on the snow. All over world, I'm like this. All over world. I said, मेरे बाप का क्या है? He went out, slipped, broke his hip. Government of India and Government of Kerala had to pay for 2 months of him being in Davos. We could have had 17,000 bars and pubs open in Kerala, but those couldn't open. I mean, forget the educational institutions. because this guy was laid up in bed in Davos. He never
Suhel.
attended one session.
Suhel, when a Malayali goes overseas, he wants to stay overseas, yeah?
That's a good one. But look at Shashi, he came back to serve India.
We're all going to get arrested any minute.
We will blame it on Sri Lanka. The foreign hand on us made us say these nasty things.
Tell me.
We're all good people, yeah. We treat our people like this.
Very good, very good. Are people afraid of you? I know they're certainly afraid of you. I mean, are people afraid that they'll go into your films or your books or whatever when they say stuff?
Yeah.
Do you have to sort of very quietly let them know who you are and that you're a comic writer or...
Yeah, but if I'm with friends and if they see me suddenly reach for my phone and take notes on something, they're petrified. It'll come in a book or, whatever. So I do carry I write a lot about stuff I see, but I always change names. However, there have been, I think, 2 cases where someone really pissed me off and I made them horrible characters in my books. I kept the names. Yeah, I kept the same first name and slightly changed their surname. I'm not Order of British Empire and, So,
Meera, what about you? Do people really pussyfoot around you when they know that you're writing a new comedy or whatever?
Yeah, you get that occasionally. People go, don't put me in a sketch. And of course you do. But the weird thing is they never recognize themselves.
Oh, that's it, yes.
So the Coopers, we had these characters, and goodness gracious me, called they're actually the Kapoors, but they so want to be British, they call themselves the Coopers. And they were based on one of the writers' uncle and auntie, and he even used the same names. And they went, those 2 are hilarious, so ridiculous. They were them. They had no idea. They did not recognize themselves.
Shall we have that clip? Do you think we should have that
Yeah,
clip of
we
the
should.
Coopers? Do you want a clip
I don't
of
know which one
Meera's?
it is.
Yeah? Can somebody put it on if it's there? I'm sorry to break up the party, but is it on?
yeah, it's coming.
Where's Smiling Sham?
I have no idea which sketch this
Oh yeah, we
is.
don't
I'm
know which
sorry,
one it
sir.
is, so it's luck of the draw.
Good afternoon. Are you expected?
Yes.
And whom shall I say is calling?
You shall say Mr. and Mrs. Dennis Cooper.
Very well. Step this way.
Stepping. बड़ी सोहनी जगह है ना दिया.
Take your hat, sir.
No, get your own.
Hang it up for you, darling.
I knew that.
Dennis, Charlotte,
Oh, Sarjita!
St. John, darling.
both wrong actually. It's Lord St. John of Epping.
And Lady Vanessa of also Epping.
How marvellous.
Yes, the titles came free with the stately home. Let's give you the guided tour. This is the entrance hall built by Henry X.
Beautiful.
Spiffing.
Notice the 16th century floorboards laid down in 1348 by Edward the 22nd.
Yes. The plastic hallway matting complements them perfectly.
What's this?
This is the stained glass window.
Stained, huh? Have you tried rubbing it with vinegar?
Stained on purpose.
He knew that.
We've started work on the garden. We're having it all taken up and putting a 15-acre patio in its place.
Oh, would anybody else like a drink?
Bims.
Of course. Dennis,
Oh, just a drink for me, please.
I'll drink for Mellows.
Tell me, St. John, what's that strange smell?
Ah, the smell of the countryside, Dennis. Horses, don't you know?
Ha! Have you horses?
Not bloody likely, I can't stand the buggers.
Yes, that's why we buy a bag of manure every week and leave it in the corner over there.
Gives it that authentic country feel.
You rang, my lady.
Yes, Mellows, could you get our guests a drink?
Certainly. Mr. Cooper?
Hi, Ramlal. 2 glasses सही वैसी जा नहीं तो थप्पड़ बड़ा पुट्टा
Don't speak to the staff like that in the country, Dennis. 1 jug of Pimm's and 1 jug of whiskey, smellers. And hurry it up, or I'll give you a damn good thrashing.
What's that?
The family crest.
Yes, it shows a British bulldog rampant in a field of royal blue.
And inscribed above, the family motto, Si non est albus, non est bonum.
What does that mean?
If it ain't white, it ain't right.
I say that fireplace must be lovely and warm in the winter.
Yes, although we haven't actually managed to light it yet.
Yes, but the neighbours have been very helpful. They bring round wood and fuel and matches and light it all for us.
Then just pop it through the letterbox.
Charming.
Yes, folk in the country are so much more friendly.
They've even invited us shooting next week.
And they've even offered us a 15-second head start.
Okay, it's almost question time, but I'd just like to ask you a couple more things. Have you seen South Asian humor change or develop in any way in the last few years or in the last 10, 15 years?
Sadly, no. I mean, I can talk in the context of India. We had great, as I said, humorists. We had great satire in our plays. I was just telling someone the other day, you know, I have a theatre background. We used to have so many plays which had satire as their bulwark. That's changed. We're not investing enough in the writing of scripts. You know, a lot of humor lays its credence on the way it's written. And I think the writing bit is missing. And you can see it in all our genres. It's missing on television. It's missing in our cinema. We've replaced intelligent humor with slapstick humor. By no means am I denigrating or casting aspersions on, you know, Kapil Sharma. I was going to say Kapil Dev. Kapil Sharma nights or whatever they're called. But, you know, that's slapstick humor. It's unintelligent humor. I mean, but, you know, I don't want to get into any intolerant debate now on that. We don't have intelligent humor anymore. And I think we should invest, but that to my mind is also a functionality of our education system, which is so straight-laced. We've gotten rid of Wodehouse, we've gotten rid of Shakespeare, we've gotten rid of humor. I mean, what is there to celebrate? Other than listen to, you know, these kind of panels moderated by a very sweet Sri Lankan.
Meera, is this one of the reasons why there has been no other comedy since you did those superlative things? I mean, is there a shortage of good scripts? Is there a shortage of good writers?
No, I think there are plenty of good scripts and good writers. I think it's getting them on that's the problem.
So it's a financing thing.
Yeah, partly, but also I think representation on television of various minority groups isn't as good as we would like it to be. And there is a feeling sometimes that we've done that. We've done multiculturalism, it's finished. But actually our argument always is, you know, beyond culture is funny. If something is either funny or it's not, and the good comedies are universal. But I do see that there's a great amount of talent coming up in America. There's Mindy Kaling, there's Lily Singh from Canada, there's Aziz Ansari, there's Russell Peters. I feel like America have leapfrogged over us because they're actually more willing to fund this stuff. But what is changing things, and I'm really glad, is the internet. Because now, a lot of people like Russell Peters has never gone to a television station. He hasn't need to. He's got 2-3 million followers on the internet. So in a way, if you want to be funny and you've got the material, you can put yourselves out there with no filters, and the public will tell you whether they like you or not. And that is a bargaining chip when you then go to the broadcasters.
There you are. That's the way to do it, if there are any comedians among you. Sidin, what about you? One final comment before we throw it open to the audience.
I think there's been a globalization of humor. We're laughing a lot more at content that's produced overseas, which is a great thing because I think Frasier is my favorite all-time show of just such an intelligent, smartly written, even though there are a lot of people who hate it, it's wastes of oxygen. But my problem with globalization, also especially in India with a kind of Delhi-centric, is that everyone, I mean, I crack a horrible joke about something, And people will not laugh because they're afraid of laughing. They find it funny, but they're afraid that laughing will somehow is endorsing the outrageous thing that I've said. So all of us, I know lots of people who start a joke on Twitter, on Facebook, but then delete it because they just can't deal with the pain that will happen. Like in one of my books, there's somebody who's extremely misogynist and make a rape joke in the book. And somebody said, look, how can you do that? And look, it's a fictional character cracking a rape joke. They said, no, that's not good. It's not, it reflects badly. I don't want to endorse a book like that. So there's this fair bit of, just laugh at jokes, just laugh and, that should be the engagement with the thought there. It's becoming more complex. And I think it's an outcome of politics, of the Delhi-centered nature of media, all of these things, which troubles me a little bit. I grew up watching 1980s, 90s Malayalam films where they made fun of God, all religions, they'd have random gods, avatars coming back to life again in the course of a movie, and suddenly from nowhere Hanuman would walk in through a door and change the course of the movie completely, right? And no one cared. If you didn't laugh, you didn't laugh. You just went home not liking the movie. You didn't have to fight against,
Can you imagine? You have a non-bailable warrant of arrest against MS Dhoni for looking like Vishnu. I mean, you may have it for his cricketing skills, but surely not for looking like Vishnu on a cover of a magazine. I mean, this is how ridiculous we've become in our country. And people are always second guessing. We talked about outrage. You're always worried about who will take umbrage to what. And then in just sheer fear, you kind of back off.
On that rather somber note, open to the audience. There's a question here. It's going to be difficult to get the mic to people, so please stand up and we'll get the second mic over to somebody else. The second mic, if it could go over there, at the back there, guy in the khaki who's holding his hand up.
Yeah. My question is to Suhel. The original Dolt, right? So I want to see you interviewing Rahul Gandhi. When we can have that?
Why don't you make it happen?
We will try our best, but
He has already been interviewed by Arnab Goswami, and you've seen what's happened.
we want to repeat that.
No, I don't want to. We are great Indians. We don't believe in causing the same amount of suffering a second time round.
My question is to Sidin. I'm a big fan. In the years following the trilogy that you wrote, have you ever found people maybe trying to leave stories for you to sort of pick up on and write about?
Yeah, all
like
the time.
in pen drives around?
All the time. All the time anything stupid happens anywhere in India or anywhere where Malayalis live, I instantly get an alert. I'm not even joking. Instant. Now, since I've moved to London, every time somebody in Britain does something stupid, they're like, look, alert, something for you to write about. And which means Britain plus India plus Malayalis means inbox is full always. But yeah, all the time, all the time.
Sir, my question is that you told if you आप कोई जोक बनाते हैं तो उसमें प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. अगर इंटॉलरेंस पे अगर आपने जोक बनाया या दलित पे जोक बनाया तो फिर आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम फेस करेगी. तो आप क्या रेस्पॉन्स देना चाहोगे पॉलिटिशियंस को? जैसे आपने शशि थरूर पे भी जोक बना दिया, अभी मोदी पे बनाया. अगर ब्रिटेन पे आप ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट पे बनाने लगे और अगर इन इश्यू बनाने लगे टॉलरेंस इंटॉलरेंस पर दलित पर तो फिर
क्या
नहीं आपको प्रॉब्लम फेस कर. अगर आपका क्या व्यू होगा उनके पॉलिटिशियंस के लिए, वो हर नॉनसेंस इशू को वो अपना
नहीं तो बेटा पूछ क्या रहे हो तुम? प्यार से पूछो ना, आस्ते आस्ते पूछो.
पार्लियामेंट में नॉनसेंस इश्यूज को वो अपने डिबेट का इशू बनाते हैं.
हाँ.
तो आपका उस पर क्या व्यू है कि वो अगर ऐसे अगर आपकी जोक को इशू बना के बात करने लगे तो कल को
जैसे मुलायम सिंह ने कहा क्या कर लोगे तुम? हैं? बात समझ आ गई बेटा? बैठ जाओ समोसे खाएंगे इसके बाद.
Hi Sidin, my question is to you.
I can't see.
Over here. Okay. So you mentioned...
Lovely moustache. Huh?
Thank you so much. So you mentioned that the humor differentiate from our locality, state, country, international. But he mentioned that it's not bound geographically. So doesn't that a contradictory thought? Because overall means if you look at the base, people laugh at the other's misery. So how could you say that it's different
No, I'm
from
not
the
saying,
locality.
No, I'm actually, in most regards, I agree with him. What I mean to say is that you find different things funny in different spheres. So, like I said, a joke in Kerala may not particularly work in Delhi, may not work in the US. Similarly, a lot of Indians will find Friends funny, but then many Indians don't associate with it at all. So I think we all have the capacity to laugh at most things. Some things are funnier in some places than the other. It's not a completely thought through academic answer. I've not done a PhD on this. There is a Journal of Humor Studies though, which you should pick up maybe. True story.
Hello, here. This is Atharva here. My question is to Sidin. When you write comedy books or when you write comedy novels, comedy in general, do you think of your probable audience before writing a particular joke?
When I started off, yes, because I was very underconfident and I wanted to connect with 20, 30-year-old office goers. But then after I wrote my first 3 books, the maximum number of emails I get were from retired public sector employees. Because they used to write to emails saying, yeah, for 50 years I could not laugh because mamla tha, kana, But now I can sit back and laugh at the entire stupidity. No, I was completely surprised. So now I don't think about that anymore. Not at all. I mean, it just seems to work. There are niche jokes, but I try not to dumb it down or dumb it up or whatever.
Hi, my question is for you, Meera ma'am. Okay, I don't want to be one of those people, but to start off, I want to say I'm a huge fan of your work.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, as a comedian who, your jokes are about Indians living abroad, but the sense of humor is very dry and British. So what is your thought process when you're writing or performing your jokes? Do you just do what comes to you, or do you think of either audiences in particular? And does that affect the reception of your television shows and whatever else you do, like from either audiences?
We never thought about, the one thing we didn't want to do was write specifically for Punjabis or an Indian audience or a white audience. We genuinely did the things that made us laugh. And our sense of humour was very British Indian. It was really a synthesis of the two, because all of us grew up with Western comedy influences. We were hugely influenced by a lot of the New York Jewish writers, the East Coast brilliant writers, the Silverman team and all of that lot. So they were, when I was growing up, that's who I was laughing at and listening to. And yet, at home, we were listening to Punjabi jokes and Parsi jokes and Sikh jokes. That's the blend we are in the group. So it was a synthesis of the two. I think you can kill a joke if you try and sort of prejudge what your audience wants. I think humour really has to come from a true place. We just did what made us laugh, and thank God it made other people laugh as well.
Humor is suffering for some, and suffering is humor for many. So isn't it that we should avoid targeting individuals to crack humor?
Is that Arvind Kejriwal asking the question?
No.
Again, you have targeted the individual.
No, I genuinely believe the one thing you shouldn't be discussing in the public, and I'm an atheist, is religion. Because people have very sensitive views on that. I believe if you can stay away from religion, look, I'm a great believer. If you're in public life, you should be targeted. Because you're in the public domain. I mean, not in a vicious way. Besides, in India, we've never talked about people's public figures' sexual escapades as much as we should have. Having said that, I think religion should be a no-no, especially in a country which is deeply sensitive about it. Other than that, everyone's fair game.
Now, it's a general question. Anyone can answer that. I want just to ask that some people carry it away, get too serious about humor. So what is the solution to it? Can you really change the mentality of the people, or what?
I don't know, you keep cracking jokes till one of you change. I mean...
No, what do you mean serious about humor? I mean, that's a nice paradox, but just say it again.
No, but some people get too carried.
And try to put the mic near the mouth.
This was MTV Roast, which took place recently. So, with Arjun Rampal and this guy, Ranveer Singh. So, some people some people like this Amir Khan get too serious about it and start commenting on Twitter that what is this all crap going on and this was not right. So what can be done about the mentality of the people who get too serious about such kind of humors?
I'm not saying anything on Amir Khan, yeah. I don't want to be seen as intolerant or tolerant.
The guy in the red t-shirt, if we could get the mic to him, please.
Good evening.
Please pass the other mic over so that.
Yeah, good evening. So there's a bit of an observation that I've made, so I just wanted to get your comments on it, if it's actually true or not. So I've observed, at least among my limited group of friends, that Indians tend to laugh a lot when there are prompts or cues behind them to kind of tell them that, yeah, what is coming on the screen, what you're about to hear is funny. So a lot of my friends that I've talked to, or other people that I've talked to, find traditional comedy or sitcoms like Friends or How I Met Your Mother very funny, because the humor is a lot more obvious. And there are cues behind you to tell you that there's recorded laughter in the background, to tell you that, yes, this particular joke or situation is quite funny. Whereas I am a huge fan of this one show called Parks and Recreation. It's a brilliant TV show, very understated and subtle humor, very good, very restrained. But a lot of my friends, the same people who love Friends, did not like that. Maybe it's personal taste, or maybe it's because the humor is so subtle, or maybe it's also dark at points, they did not get it. So what is your view on it, or do you think this is actually true, or yeah? So.
I know, I mean, when you write humor columns for newspapers, one of the things that really irritate me is when they do a humor column by so-and-so on something. And now they also, it just pisses me off. Right? Or I occasionally do some work for National Geographic Traveler. And sometimes they'll say, this week, a humor column by... The reason is because I think most editors, there's a sense that anything you read in print is serious and to be taken seriously. And if you don't, I think editors think that more than readers. But I think the feeling is if you don't say it's a humor column coming, you will take it all seriously. And then you think, oh, look, you're making fun of me now. But if you say it's a humor column, you're like, okay, now I will not take anything seriously for 650 words, you know. I think it's a horrible thing, but also I think it speaks to a little bit about how seriously Indians take media. And how you have to say, no, Cyrus Brocha will crack jokes for 30 minutes. You know, I think that's, as for Parks and Recreation and Friends, some people have no taste, man. There's nothing you can do.
मलयालम की भी बात हो गई और पंजाबी की भी बात हो गई. आप क्या समझते हैं मारवाड़ियों में ह्यूमर नहीं होता है? हर दूसरी जगह शादी होती है तो घी के पीपे की बात होती है. राम जी लाल 50 घी का पीपा लगाए हुए, बहुत बढ़िया खाने बने जो. लेकिन यार ये ब्याह में डालडा घी काम में लिए मजो को नहीं आया. तो हैव यू फेस्ड एनी मारवाड़ी?
No, are you doing an audition?
You can think that.
I have faced many Marwadis.
But I need your answer.
People. They are lovely people. I have not come across any Marwadi who's adulterated his pipa, of ghee, because I've also seen their size. By and large. No pun intended on large. But you know what I mean. Hun baith jao. Bahut vadiya audition si tuhada.
Hi Suhel, I'm Aparna. I want to know, do you think, have Indian comedy creators failed to create an international audience? Do you think the reason is because, we consume the content locally, making fun of each other, or what's the reason?
I don't think we failed. I think largely, we are pretty weak at marketing homegrown or home emergent stand-up comics, or as was rightly said by Meera, that we haven't perhaps given them the kind of platform that they need. But I don't think we are in any way inferior. But yes, the concentration is so much within domestic and diaspora audiences that you believe your plate is already full. But then there are people who are actually moving away. She being a prime example of who says the emergent nationality is not important. What is important is that if you can make people laugh without feeling segmented or part of a bordered world. The ultimate humor is the ability to laugh in a borderless world with an imagination that is unfettered and unfearful. It should be fearless in every way.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note.
Very good note.
Sidin Vadukut, Meera Syal, Suhel Seth.
Thank you.